The arena at noon is a different beast than it was 7 days ago. Then Sarah descended into the pit as a condemned prisoner, certain of death. Now she enters as a claimant to the throne, and the crowd's energy has transformed from bloodlust to something more complex. Anticipation mixed with uncertainty, hope twisted with fear. 5,000 voices that can't decide if they're witnessing justice or tragedy. The viewing platforms are packed beyond capacity. Wolves in human and beast form press shoulder to shoulder, climbing onto ledges, clinging to any vantage point. Word has spread beyond Silver Moon territory. She spots wolves from neighboring packs, drawn by rumors of the impossible heir who made a werewolf kneel. Sarah walks the corridor to the arena floor, flanked by Kaelin on her left, and 4 guards who've become something like protectors over the past week. Behind them, Ragnar's imposing presence fills the passage, a reminder to anyone watching that she's not alone anymore. Not forgotten, not unseen. Through the bond, she feels his absolute certainty. His faith burns like wildfire in her chest, lending courage she doesn't quite possess on her own. The corridor opens onto the arena floor. Not the pit this time. Trials are fought on level ground, where the entire pack can witness every movement, every decision, every moment of triumph or failure. The combat space is 60 feet across, marked by a circle of white stones embedded in packed earth. Beyond that boundary lies defeat. Step outside and you forfeit. Stay inside and you fight until submission or death. Alpha King Damien sits in the elevated throne directly across from the entrance. His face is carefully neutral, but Sarah catches the slight tightness around his eyes the way his hand grips the armrest. He's taken her tonic this morning. She can see it in the slightly improved color of his skin, the steadier set of his shoulders. But he's still being poisoned, still dying slowly while conspirators plot in shadows. To his right, Elder Moira watches with cold satisfaction, barely concealed behind ceremonial composure. To his left, the council members, arranged like pieces on a game board, some loyal to Damien, some to Marcus, some merely waiting to see which way power flows. And there, standing with a cluster of high-ranked wolves, Marcus Silverclaw. He's dressed in fighting leathers, dyed silver to match his name, his platinum blonde hair pulled back in a warrior's knot. When those ice-blue eyes meet Sarah's across the arena, he smiles. It's the smile of a hunter who's already tasted blood. Sarah Ashwood. Damien's voice carries across the arena, magically amplified. You have accepted the trial of strength. You will face 3 opponents in successive combat. Wolf form, fight to submission. Victory requires defeating all 3. Defeat in any bout means failure of the trial, and he pauses, the weight of those words hanging heavy, forfeiture of your life. The crowd murmurs, some excited, some uncertain, all waiting. Your first opponent, Damien continues, gesturing to the left entrance. Sable Moonrunner, swift and tactical, undefeated in agility combat for 3 years. A woman enters the arena. 26 years old, lean and compact with dark brown hair and tight braids. Her movements are fluid, precise, each step calculated. She wears simple fighting leathers, unadorned, no need for decoration when skill speaks louder than silver threading. Sable's gaze assesses Sarah with professional detachment. No malice, no sympathy. Just a warrior evaluating an opponent, cataloging weaknesses, planning strategy. They face each other across the white stone circle. Sarah's heart hammers against her ribs, but her breathing stays controlled. 7 days of training, 7 days of learning to read opponents like terrain, to map patterns, to survive through analysis and adaptation. Kaelin's voice echoes in her memory. Sable expects aggression. Give her patience. Begin, Damien commands. Both women shift simultaneously. The transformation still hurts, bones cracking, muscles tearing and reforming, but Sarah completes it in 18 seconds. Faster than her first attempts, but Sable finishes in 12, already moving before Sarah's fully settled into wolf form. Sable's wolf is small, barely larger than Sarah's, with sleek dark brown fur built for speed rather than power. She doesn't attack immediately. Instead, she circles, testing Sarah's reflexes with feints, studying movement patterns, building a tactical map. Sarah forces herself to wait. Every instinct screams to move, to attack, to do something. But Kaelin's training holds. She mirrors Sable's circle, maintaining distance, refusing to be drawn into the other wolf's rhythm. 30 seconds pass. 60. The crowd grows restless, expecting violence, getting careful dance. Then Sable strikes. Not where Sarah expects, not straight-on aggression, but from an angle, using the white stone boundary to limit escape routes. Fast. Blindingly fast. Sarah barely dodges. Sable's fangs snap closed on empty air, where her throat was a heartbeat before. But the attack was probing, not committed. Sable's already disengaging, circling again, adjusting strategy. She's mapping you, Sarah realizes. Finding patterns, building rhythm. So Sarah breaks the pattern. Instead of circling left as she has been, she cuts right, closing distance faster than Sable expects. The maneuver comes from Ragnar's knowledge and ancestral technique that uses unexpected direction changes to disorient. Sable adapts quickly, but not quickly enough. Sarah gets inside her guard, not to attack, but to disrupt. She forces Sable to scramble backward to reset to abandon her careful tactical buildup. 3 minutes become 5. 5 become 8. Sable tries to establish rhythm again and again, but Sarah refuses to settle into predictable patterns. Every time Sable thinks she's mapped her opponent, Sarah changes tempo, direction, aggression level. You're fighting like prey, Sable's body language seems to say. Reactive, defensive. But Sarah's not fighting like prey. She's fighting like a cartographer, mapping Sable's patterns while refusing to create her own, gathering information while denying it to her opponent. At the 10-minute mark, Sarah sees it. The rhythm Sable can't quite suppress a slight hesitation before committing to attacks a tell in how her weight shifts before direction changes. The pattern emerges like a trail through wilderness, invisible until you know how to look. Sarah uses it. When Sable feints left, Sarah's already moving right, anticipating the true attack angle. When Sable attempts her signature speed rush, the technique that's won 3 tournaments, Sarah's positioned to redirect momentum rather than resist it. Sable crashes into the boundary stones, scrambles to recover. Sarah's on her before she can reset, not with fangs, but with weight, using her entire body to pin the other wolf's front legs. It's not elegant, it's not powerful, but it's effective. Sable struggles for 5 seconds. 10, 15, can't break free. Finally, her body goes limp in the universal signal of submission. Sarah releases immediately, steps back. Victory. Against all odds, the first bout is hers. The arena explodes in sound, half celebrating, half frozen in shock. The homeless girl just defeated a tournament champion. But there's no time to celebrate. Guards bring water, give her 60 seconds to catch her breath. Across the arena, Sable shifts back to human form, nods once with professional respect, and exits. No shame in defeat, just acknowledgement of a worthy opponent. Your second opponent, Damien announces, his voice carrying that same careful neutrality. But Sarah catches something else beneath it, approval. Garrick Stonefell, defensive specialist, unmoved in 300 pounds of pure patience. The man who enters makes Sable look delicate. 6'4" in human form, built like he's carved from mountain stone. Scars cross his arms, his chest, his face, a lifetime of combat etched in flesh. His gray eyes assess Sarah with the calm of someone who's fought hundreds of battles and lost none through defensive attrition. When he shifts, his wolf form is massive. Dark gray fur over muscles that ripple with every movement. Not fast like Sable, not aggressive like what Sarah expects from Marcus, just inevitable. A boulder rolling downhill, impossible to stop, only to survive. Begin, Damien commands. Garrick doesn't rush. He approaches slowly, methodically, each step deliberate. His strategy is obvious: use superior weight to pin superior endurance to outlast. He doesn't need to be fast, just patient. Sarah learned this lesson from Kalen's training. Learned it in her body and bruises that still ache. Don't try to match strength. Don't try to win through power. Survive through movement. She darts and strikes Garrick's flank with claws extended, not deep, just enough to draw first blood. Then she's gone before he can retaliate, circling wide. Garrick turns to follow. Not quickly, not desperately, just turns, like he has all the time in the world, because he does. And that's his advantage. The next 20 minutes become an endurance test. Sarah strikes, retreats, accumulating minor damage while refusing to engage in the grappling combat where Garrick's weight would crush her. But she's already tired from fighting Sable. Her muscles burn, her lungs ache, and Garrick is fresh, patient, slowly closing distance with each exchange. At minute 15, Sarah feels it, the bone-deep exhaustion that comes from fighting when your body's already spent. Her movements slow, her reactions dull. Garrick senses it shifts strategy from defensive patience to aggressive advance. He catches her. One massive paw hooks her rear leg, and suddenly 300 pounds of wolf is bearing down, driving her to the ground. Sarah's ribs compress under the weight. She can't breathe, can't move, just trapped beneath inevitable force. 5,000 witnesses surge to their feet. This is it. This is where the impossible run ends. Crushed beneath superior strength, defeated by her own exhaustion. But Sarah remembers her mother's words surfacing through pain and oxygen deprivation. The moon waxes and wanes, little one, but it always returns. Bend, don't break. She goes limp, completely limp. submissive posture that every wolf instinct recognizes as surrender. Garrick's weight eases slightly, just slightly, as his mind processes victory. That half second of reduced pressure is all Sarah needs. She twists with every ounce of strength remaining, using not power but the geometry of leverage. Garrick's weight, previously her enemy, becomes her tool. She redirects it, rolls with it, and suddenly he's off balance. Sarah doesn't try to overpower him. She just scrambles away, creating distance, buying precious seconds to breathe. Garrick recovers quickly. He's too experienced to stay down long, but those 5 seconds gave Sarah what she needed. Oxygen. Space. A chance to reset. The battle continues. Sarah can't win through attrition anymore. She's too damaged, too tired. So she changes tactics, stops trying to outlast him, starts trying to outthink him. She baits him, fakes exhaustion even worse than reality, stumbles near the boundary stones as if her strength is finally gone. Garrick advances, sensing the kill, committing to a rushing pin that will end the fight. Sarah waits, waits until he's committed, until his momentum is unstoppable. Then she uses the boundary stones, plants her hind legs against them, and launches herself not away from Garrick, but toward him, lower than he expects, faster than her exhaustion should allow. She slides under his charging bulk and rakes claws across his vulnerable underbelly, not to injure seriously but to startle. Garrick's forward momentum carries him past her straight into the boundary stones. He hits hard, stunned for a crucial 3 seconds. Sarah's on him before he can recover. Not trying to pin, she doesn't have the strength. Instead, she targets the weakness Kaylin identified as left rear leg, the old injury from the Northern Campaign. She strikes it precisely. Once, twice, 3 times. Not to maim, but to exhaust the already compromised limb. Garrick's leg buckles. He tries to compensate, but his defensive stance requires 4 solid legs. With one weakened, his entire strategy collapses. Sarah sees the opening, doesn't hesitate, clamps her jaws around his throat, not biting down, just holding. The position of dominance, the unmistakable signal: yield or die. Garrick holds for 5 seconds. 10, in testing if she has the stamina to maintain the hold. Sarah's entire body trembles with exhaustion, but she doesn't release. Can't release. This is survival. This is everything. 15 seconds. Garrick's body goes limp in submission. Sarah releases, steps back, and nearly collapses. Only pride keeps her on her paws. Only the knowledge that one more opponent waits. Only the certainty that showing weakness now means death when Marcus enters. Pack members howl their disbelief. Impossible. She's done the impossible. Defeated 2 trained warriors in succession while injured, exhausted, operating on 7 days of training against their lifetimes. Guards bring more water. Give her 90 seconds this time, recognition that she's fighting beyond normal endurance. Kaylin appears at the boundary, her voice barely audible over the crowd. Last fight, Marcus. He'll try to kill you. Forget submission. Fight for your life. Sarah nods, too tired for words. Her ribs ache where Garrick compressed them. Her shoulder throbs where Sable's fangs grazed her. Every muscle screams for rest that won't come. Across the arena, Marcus stands. His silver fighting leathers catch the light as he descends toward the combat circle. That predator's smile hasn't wavered. If anything, it's widened. He's watched her fight twice, mapped her exhaustion, identified her injuries. He knows exactly where to strike. Your third opponent, Damien announces, and there's something in his voice now, a tension that wasn't present before. He knows this is wrong. Knows Marcus volunteered for murder, not honor. But he's bound by law, by tradition, by the trial's rules that he cannot break without undermining everything. Marcus Silverclaw, high-ranked warrior, nephew to the Alpha King. Marcus enters the circle, stands across from Sarah. In human form, he's a head taller, muscles honed by lifetime training. When he speaks, his voice carries to the crowd, but his words are meant for Sarah alone. I should have killed you 10 years ago, he says quietly, when I saw you flee that cabin, when I glimpsed your mark. I told myself you'd die on the streets. That exposure or starvation or violence would eliminate the problem. His voice drops to a venomous whisper. I was wrong. Today I correct that mistake. Why? Sarah asks, though she can barely stand. Why hunt me? Why want me dead so desperately? Because you're the last obstacle between me and everything I've planned for a decade. With you gone, I inherit. With inheritance comes power to reshape this pack into what it should be: strong, hierarchical, with clear lines between those who matter and those who don't. His smile is poisonous. You represent the old way. Compassion, equality, weakness disguised as wisdom. I'll kill that idea along with you. Begin, Damien commands. His voice sounds strained. Both shift. Marcus completes his transformation in 10 seconds faster than anyone Sarah's seen except Ragnar. His wolf form is magnificent. Silver white fur, 190 pounds of lean muscle and predatory grace, built for lethal speed. Sarah finishes her shift in 20 seconds, every transformation taking longer as exhaustion compounds. Her brown-toned wolf seems small and damaged beside Marcus's pristine perfection. Marcus doesn't circle, doesn't assess, doesn't wait. He attacks, not for submission, for the kill. His fangs aim for her throat, seeking arteries, seeking the death blow that will end this before it truly begins. Sarah barely dodges her exhausted reflexes, just quick enough to avoid immediate death. But Marcus is fresh, rested. He's watched her fight twice, knows she has nothing left. He presses the attack without mercy, driving her backward, forcing her to spend precious energy on pure defense. Sarah can't mount effective counterattacks, can't create distance, can barely survive the onslaught of someone who's trained his entire life for exactly this kind of combat. Marcus's fangs find her shoulder, the same one Sable injured, and tear through muscle to bone. Sarah yelps, the sound involuntary. Her left foreleg weakens, and Marcus senses the vulnerability. He focuses all his attacks there, targeting the injury, turning weakness into crippling damage. Within a minute, Sarah can barely stand. Her left leg refuses to support weight. Blood mats her fur. The arena tilts and spins. This is it. This is how it ends. Not through fair combat, but through assassination wearing trials clothing. The crowd's noise becomes distant, indistinct. All Sarah can hear is her own ragged breathing. All she can see is Marcus positioning for the killing strike. He lunges, jaws wide, aimed for her throat. And through the bond, through 2 centuries of loyalty and grief and desperate hope, Ragnar's power surges. Not breaking the trial's rules, he can't physically intervene. But the knowledge, the techniques, the absolute fury of an ancient werewolf watching his chosen heir murdered. It floods Sarah's mind, not gently, like lightning, like fire. 200 years of combat instinct pouring through their bond in one desperate transfer. Her body moves without conscious thought. An ancient technique. A maneuver so old even Marcus has never seen it. She doesn't try to dodge Marcus's strike. Instead, she uses his momentum, his commitment, his absolute certainty of victory. She flips, not away, toward, using his own charging weight to execute a throw that hasn't been used in 80 years. Marcus crashes to the ground, genuinely shocked, his killing blow disrupted. Sarah's on him before he can recover. Despite her injuries, despite her exhaustion, despite every rational reason she should be dead already. Her fangs find his throat, pressed down, not hard enough to kill, but hard enough that the message is unmistakable. Yield. Marcus trembles with rage beneath her, his entire body taut with fury and disbelief. This wasn't the plan. This wasn't how the forgotten girl was supposed to die. Sarah presses harder. Blood seeps around her fangs, not arterial, just warning. The crowd has gone silent. 5,000 witnesses holding their breath. Yield, Sarah growls through the mental connection all wolves share. Marcus's body shakes. Those ice-blue eyes burn with hatred. But he's pinned, he's beaten, and the entire pack is watching. I yield, he snarls. The words taste like poison, like defeat, like the death of every plan he's built for a decade. Sarah releases him immediately, steps back, sways on her paws. The world tilts dangerously. She's lost too much blood, taken too much damage, pushed beyond what anybody should endure. But she's won all 3 battles against impossible odds, with broken body and 7 days of training against lifetimes of experience. The arena shakes with the sound of 5,000 voices, some celebrating, some mourning, all acknowledging that they've witnessed something unprecedented. Sarah tries to shift back to human form, manages halfway before her legs give out. She collapses to packed earth, bleeding, broken, barely conscious. The last thing she sees before darkness claims her is Ragnar breaking through the guard's line, rushing across the arena. His towering frame reaches her shelters, her promises, safety. And Damien's face above her, concern etched in every line, something unspoken burning in those amber depths. Bring the healers, Damien commands. Now. Then nothing, just darkness and the distant echo of a crowd that finally sees her. Sarah wakes to the smell of herbs and honey, clean linens against her skin. Warmth that doesn't come from shared body heat or stolen proximity to bakers' ovens, but from actual blankets and a fire that's been tended all night. The healing chambers are quiet. Dawn light filters through high windows, painting everything in shades of gold and rose. Someone has placed wildflowers on the table beside her bed, mountain laurel and columbine, the kind that grow in high elevations where the air is thin and pure. Her body is a map of pain. Every breath reminds her of Garrick's crushing weight. Her left shoulder is bandaged, still throbbing where Marcus tore through muscle. But she's alive. And more than that, she's won. You're awake, Kaylin's voice comes from the corner. The warrior looks like she hasn't slept, dark circles under her green eyes, but she's smiling. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. The healer said you lost enough blood to kill most wolves, but apparently you're too stubborn to die. Sarah tries to speak, finds her throat raw. Kaylin immediately offers water, helps her drink. The pack Sarah manages, in chaos. Half of them are calling you the prophesied heir. Return to restore the old ways. The other half think you use dark magic to bewitch Ragnar and cheat in combat. Kaylin's smile widens. Either way, no one's calling you invisible anymore. Before Sarah can respond, the door opens. Damien enters, and Kaylin immediately excuses herself with a knowing look. The Alpha King looks exhausted. His dark hair is disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, so unlike his usual controlled presentation that Sarah almost doesn't recognize him. He approaches her bedside slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might shatter something fragile. "You're an idiot," he says, but his voice is soft, gentle. "Fighting 3 trained warriors in succession with no formal combat training, you could have died. But I didn't." Sarah's voice is barely a whisper. "I won. You did." Damien sits in the chair Kaylin vacated, close enough that she can see the details of his face, the worry lines around his eyes, the slight tremor in his hands that the poison causes. "Against all odds, against every expectation, you won. Do you understand what that means? That I survived the first trial. That you're dangerous." Damien leans forward, and suddenly the space between them feels charged with something beyond politics. "Not because of your bloodline, not because Ragnar chose you, because you think differently than anyone I've ever met. You see patterns others miss. You turn weaknesses into weapons. You survived 10 years of circumstances that should have killed you, and instead of breaking, you learned." He reaches out, hesitates, then gently takes her uninjured hand. His touch is warm, calloused from years of combat training. "I'm beginning to understand why Ragnar knelt, why my father's coup never truly ended the Ashwood line. Your family doesn't lead through force. You lead through connection, through seeing people, and that's infinitely more powerful than fangs and fury." Sarah's heart hammers. She's acutely aware of everywhere their skin touches, of how he's looking at her, not as a claimant or a threat or a political problem, but as a person, as someone who matters. "You're still being poisoned," she says, because focusing on his health is safer than acknowledging whatever this is between them. "We need to catch them. Get proof." Actually, Damien's expression darkens. "We already have, or rather you did." He gestures toward the window where dawn is fully breaking now. "While you were fighting yesterday, I had my most trusted guards watching Corvus Nightshade. You were right, he's the poisoner, but he wasn't working alone." "Who else?" Sarah demands, trying to sit up. Pain shoots through her ribs and she gasps. Damien immediately moves to help her, arranging pillows, supporting her weight with careful hands. "6 conspirators total," he says once she's settled. "Corvus administered the poison. Elder Moira provided cover and manipulated pack law. Thorn Ironfang would have ensured military support once I was incapacitated. Aldrich Goldvein controlled the finances. Ravenna Shadowbrook handled information and blackmail, and Marcus orchestrated everything." "But why?" Sarah asks. "What do they gain?" "Power, control, wealth." Damien's jaw tightens. "They've been embezzling from pack resources for years. 50 million annually that should go to infrastructure, education, support for lower-ranked wolves. Instead, it disappeared into their personal accounts. Marcus planned to inherit the throne after my natural death, with the conspiracy intact to help him rule. Your arrival threatened everything," he continues, "not just because you're the rightful heir, because you see people. You notice when children are hungry, when territories are mismanaged, when justice is unequal. They couldn't let you live long enough to expose them." Sarah processes this, her mind already mapping the implications. "We need evidence, concrete proof, financial records, witness testimony." "We have it." Damien squeezes her hand gently. "While you were unconscious, I had my guards search their quarters. We found ledgers, correspondence, everything. But there's a problem. What Elder Moira is claiming you're the conspirator, that you used dark magic to charm Ragnar, that you're trying to overthrow legitimate leadership through deception. Half the council believes her. They want another trial before we can proceed with exposing the conspiracy." The trial of wisdom, Sarah realizes. Yes, which begins tomorrow. Damien's thumb traces absent circles on her palm, the gesture unconscious and intimate. The Eastern Pact crisis. You'll have 3 days to investigate and propose a solution. If you succeed, your credibility is established and we can expose the conspiracy. If you fail, I forfeit my life, Sarah finishes. No pressure then. Despite everything, Damien laughs. It's a surprise sound rough and genuine. You just fought 3 warriors while half dead in one. Somehow I think you'll manage an investigation. He stands reluctantly, releasing her hand. Rest today. Heal. Tomorrow you travel to the border with an escort. I'd come with you, but my presence would complicate negotiations with Alpha Rowan. Damien, Sarah calls as he reaches the door. He turns back and she sees it again, that unguarded look, that vulnerability he shows no one else. Thank you for believing in me, for helping me survive. You're saving my life, he says quietly. I'm just returning the favor. Besides, a small smile tugs at his lips. I'm beginning to think the pack needs you. Maybe more than they need me. Then he's gone, leaving Sarah alone with racing thoughts and a warmth in her chest that has nothing to do with healing magic. The journey to the eastern border takes 2 days on horseback. Sarah rides beside Kaelin, with Ragnar ranging ahead and 4 loyal guards flanking their rear. Her shoulder still aches, her ribs protest every jarring step, but the healer's work has been effective. She can move, she can think, she can investigate. The landscape shifts as they travel from the stronghold's forested surroundings to high alpine meadows, then down into the disputed valley where the Clearwater River once ran strong year-round. Now it's reduced to a trickle barely deep enough to water crops, let alone sustain the fish populations both packs depend on. They meet Alpha Rowan Thornridge at the border marker, a cairn of stones that marks where Silver Moon territory ends and Eastern Pack territory begins. He's younger than Sarah, expected maybe 30, with red gold hair and sharp hazel eyes that assess her with wary curiosity. So you're the lost Ashwood heir, Rowan says, circling her slowly. His posture isn't aggressive exactly, but definitely testing. The girl who made the warwolf kneel, who defeated 3 warriors, who might be leading Silver Moon Pack within a month if rumors are true. I'm just trying to solve a water crisis, Sarah responds. Her diplomatic training has been non-existent, but 10 years of reading people to survive on the streets translates well enough. She can see Rowan's anger, yes, but beneath it, desperation. His pack is suffering, not through conquest or punishment, through understanding what actually happened to the river. Something shifts in Rowan's expression. You don't think we damned it? That's what every Silver Moon wolf has accused us of. Rivers don't lose 60% of their flow overnight without cause. Sarah says, pulling out the maps she's been studying for weeks. She spreads them across a flat rock, weighting the corners with stones. Natural erosion takes decades. If either pack had built an artificial dam, scouts would have found it, which means the answer is somewhere else, somewhere unexpected. She traces the river's path upstream with one finger. Here, 47 miles north. This elevation drop creates natural dam conditions, debris, beaver activity, or, she pauses, considering human structures that predated pack settlement. Rowan leans closer, studying the maps with the intensity of someone desperate for solutions. You think there's an old dam from before the packs claimed this territory? Maybe, or a natural blockage that diverted the flow. Sarah looks up, meeting his eyes. Let me investigate. Give me 3 days. If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. If I'm right, we restore the river, and both packs benefit. And if you're just stalling, gathering intelligence about our territory to use against us later. Sarah considers her response carefully. My grandfather ruled Silver Moon for 40 years. From what I'm told, he believed in cooperation over conquest. I'd like to honor that legacy if you'll let me try. Rowan is quiet for a long moment. Then he extends his hand. 3 days, but I'm coming with you. If you're investigating my territory, I want to see what you find. They shake on it, a tentative trust, fragile as new ice, but trust nonetheless. The journey upstream is brutal. The terrain grows increasingly wild, rocky slopes giving way to dense forest, where trails haven't been maintained in decades, possibly longer. Sarah's injuries slow them down, but she refuses to stop. They have 3 days, every hour counts. Kaelin scouts ahead with 2 of Rowan's wolves. Ragnar stays close to Sarah, his presence a comfort as they navigate treacherous ground. Rowan himself proves surprisingly helpful, his knowledge of the local terrain complementing Sarah's map-reading skills. Tell me about your grandfather, Rowan says on the second day as they pick their way along a ridge. The stories my grandmother told painted him as different, not like most alphas. I never knew him, Sarah admits. He died when I was newborn, but my father, his son, taught me things. How to read land, how to see patterns, how to value knowledge over force. She navigates around a fallen log, her shoulder protesting. He used to say that power without wisdom is just violence wearing a crown. Your father sounds like he was a good man. He was. The grief is old, buried deep, but it still aches. He died protecting me. Both my parents did. They kept me hidden for 10 years so I'd survive to reach this moment. I can't, her voice cracks slightly. I can't waste their sacrifice. Rowan doesn't respond immediately. When he does, his voice is gentle. Then we'll make sure you don't. Come on, Kaylin is signaling. They've found something. What they've found is remarkable. 47 miles upstream, exactly where Sarah's maps predicted, sits a dam. But not a beaver dam, not a natural debris blockage. This is human-made ancient stone and timber construction that must predate Pax settlement by a century or more, possibly built by human settlers who lived here before the territory wars drove them out. And it's failing, catastrophically. The center section has partially collapsed, diverting the main river flow into a smaller tributary channel that runs north-northwest, completely bypassing both Pac territories. What little water makes it through the damaged dam is what's currently trickling through the Clearwater riverbed. This wasn't sabotage, Rowan breathes, examining the collapsed section. This is just age and erosion. The dam has been slowly failing for years, maybe decades. Neither Pac caused this. But we can fix it. Sarah says, her mind already working through the logistics. Cooperative effort. Your Pac has stone workers, I saw that in your settlement. Silver Moon has timber specialists and engineers. Pool resources, split the labor, restore the dam to full function. That's, Rowan runs a hand through his red gold hair. That's actually brilliant. But your Pac will never agree. We've been enemies for 3 years. The deaths, the skirmishes, were based on false assumptions. Sarah interrupts. Both Pacs thought the other was stealing water. Now we know the truth. We present this evidence, show that cooperation benefits everyone, and make the case for peace. She pulls out parchment, begins sketching the dam, noting measurements and damage points. This is my trial, proving I have the wisdom to solve conflicts without warfare. But it's also your chance to secure your Pac's future. Work with me, Rowan. Help me make this right. Rowan studies her for a long moment. Then slowly he smiles. You really are different. Most alphas would use this as leverage, force us to submit in exchange for water access. You're offering partnership. Because partnership is stronger than dominance, Sarah says simply. My grandfather understood that. I'm just trying to live up to his legacy. They spend the rest of the day documenting everything. Kaylin and the guards help measure the dam's dimensions, assess the damage, calculate materials needed for repair. Sarah maps the water flow, the diverted tributary, the original riverbed. Every detail matters for the presentation she'll make to the Pac councils. That night, they camp near the dam. Sarah sits by the fire reviewing her notes when Rowan settles beside her. Can I ask you something, he says, about the trial, about fighting Marcus? Sarah looks up from her sketches. What about it? Everyone saw what happened. How he tried to kill you, not just win. How you survived through, Rowan searches for words, through something that looked like magic. The whole thing felt wrong, like you were fighting for your life, not competing in a trial. I was, Sarah says simply. Marcus is part of a conspiracy. He's been planning my death since he recognized me 10 years ago. The trial was just the most convenient method. Then why did you let him live? Rowan's question is genuinely curious. You had him, your fangs at his throat. You could have killed him and been justified. Instead, you accepted his submission. Sarah is quiet, considering her response. Because I don't want to be the kind of leader who solves problems through execution. Marcus deserves justice, trial, exposure, punishment, but not death in the arena. If I'd killed him, I'd be no different than the wolves who murdered my family. She looks at Rowan. I want to lead through wisdom, not fear, even when fear would be easier. You're going to be a good queen, Rowan says softly. Better than most alphas I've known. Your grandfather would be proud. The words settle warmth in Sarah's chest, easing some of the doubt that's plagued her since this began. They return to the stronghold on the third day, exhausted but triumphant. Sarah has everything she needs: maps, measurements, witness testimony from Rowan, a detailed proposal for cooperative dam repair. The evidence is irrefutable. Damien meets them in the courtyard, relief clear on his face when he sees Sarah alive and whole. You found something. We found everything, Sarah says, matching his stride as they walk toward the council chambers. The dam that caused the solution. I can prove neither pack was at fault and present a plan that benefits everyone. Then let's end this, Damien says. The council is already assembled, including the conspirators. They don't know we have evidence against them yet. They think this is just your trial presentation. He pauses at the council chamber doors, turns to face her directly. Sarah, after this, after you pass the trial of wisdom, we expose them. All of them. The conspirators, the embezzlement, everything. Are you ready for what comes next? I've been ready since I was 10 years old, Sarah says. Let's finish this. The council chamber is packed. Not just the 6-member inner council, but representatives from every major pack faction. 50 wolves in total, all here to witness whether the lost heir can demonstrate the wisdom to rule. Elder Moira sits at the head table, her ancient face arranged in disapproval. Beside her, Thorn Ironfang, Aldrich Goldvein, Ravenna Shadowbrook, and Corvus Nightshade. The conspirators still playing their roles, still believing themselves untouchable. Marcus stands in the barn, his posture radiating barely contained rage. The bruises from their fight are visible on his neck, dark marks where Sarah's fangs pressed against his throat. Proof of his defeat, his humiliation. Damien takes his place at the high seat, his expression carefully neutral, but Sarah catches the slight nod he gives her. Trust, support, belief. Sarah Ashwood, Elder Moira's voice carries across the chamber, cold and formal. You stand for the trial of wisdom. The Eastern Pack crisis has plagued both territories for 3 years, resulting in 3 deaths, failed crops, collapsed fisheries. Present your findings and proposal. The council will judge whether your wisdom is sufficient to rule. Sarah steps forward, spreads her maps and sketches across the central table. Takes a breath. The Clearwater River crisis was caused by neither pack. She begins, her voice steady despite exhaustion. 47 miles upstream, there exists an ancient dam, human-built, predating pack settlement by at least a century. This dam has been slowly failing for years, diverting the main river flow into a northern tributary that bypasses both territories entirely. She points to her map showing the water flow, the collapsed section, the diverted tributary. I discovered this with Alpha Rowan Thornridge's cooperation. He's here today to confirm these findings. Rowan steps forward from where he's been waiting near the door. His presence causes immediate reaction. Gasps, mutters wolves reaching for weapons they're not allowed to carry in council chambers. Enemies in our stronghold, Thorn begins, but Damien silences him with a gesture. Alpha Rowan is here as my guest, Damien says, his voice carrying absolute authority. Sarah requested his presence. Let him speak. Rowan inclines his head respectfully. Everything Sarah says is true. My pack did not dam the river. Silvermoon did not dam the river. We've been fighting over false accusations while the real cause lay undiscovered upstream. He looks directly at the council. Sarah solved in 3 days what our packs couldn't resolve in 3 years. She offers not conquest, but partnership. And what does this partnership entail? Aldrich demands his merchant's mind, already calculating loss and benefits. Cooperative dam repair, Sarah explains. She unrolls her detailed proposal. Eastern Pack provides stoneworkers, they have the best in the region. Silvermoon provides timber specialists and engineers. We pool resources, split labor costs, complete repairs in approximately 14 days. Materials cost roughly $300,000 in combined pack resources. Result, full river restoration benefiting both territories. That's a significant expenditure, Aldrich protests. $300,000 is less than what both packs lose annually in failed harvests. Sarah counters. She's ready for this objection, has the numbers memorized. Silvermoon loses approximately $2 million per year in agricultural output. Eastern Pack loses roughly the same. The dam repair is a one-time investment that permanently solves a problem costing both packs $4 million annually. Return on investment occurs within 2 months. Aldrich closes his mouth. Numbers don't lie, and even he can't argue with that economic logic. Additionally, Sarah continues, I propose formalizing this cooperation through a water-sharing treaty. Both packs gain guaranteed river access. We establish joint management of upstream territory to prevent future crises. And we create a precedent for peaceful conflict resolution that can apply to other territorial disputes. The chamber erupts in discussion. Some wolves are excited, finally a solution. Others are suspicious, partnership with enemies. But no one can deny the logic, the evidence, the wisdom of Sarah's approach. Elder Moira's face has gone pale. This isn't how it was supposed to go. Sarah was supposed to fail to prove herself unworthy. Instead, she's demonstrating exactly the kind of innovative cooperative leadership that threatens everything the conspiracy has built. This is highly irregular, Moira tries. Alliances with rival packs require vision. Damien interrupts, standing, which Sarah has demonstrated. The trial of wisdom tests whether a leader can solve complex problems without resorting to violence. Sarah has not only solved the immediate crisis, but proposed a long-term framework for peace. He looks around the chamber. Does anyone dispute the wisdom of her solution? Silence. Even the conspirators can't argue against success. Then I declare the trial of wisdom passed, Damien announces. Sarah Ashwood has proven herself capable of the strategic thinking required to lead. The chamber erupts in applause. Not everyone, some wolves still look uncertain, some openly hostile, but enough. Enough to matter. But Damien isn't finished. However, his voice cuts through the celebration, cold and sharp as winter wind. Before we proceed to the final trial, there's another matter requiring immediate attention. A conspiracy that has poisoned this pack for years. A corruption that ends today. The temperature in the room drops. Conspirators exchange nervous glances. Damien gestures and guards enter from side doors. Not the regular stronghold guards, these are his personal security, the wolves he trusts absolutely. They position themselves behind each conspirator. For 6 months I have been systematically poisoned, Damien announces. Nightshade compound administered by Corvus. Nightshade with full knowledge and cooperation of Elder Moira Beta Thorn, Ironfang Merchant Prince Aldrich Goldvein, and Spymaster Ravenna Shadowbrook. The conspiracy was orchestrated by Marcus Silverclaw, who framed Sarah for theft in an attempt to eliminate her before she could expose their embezzlement scheme. The chamber explodes into chaos. This is absurd, Moira starts. We have evidence, Damien says coldly. He gestures again, and more guards enter, carrying ledgers, correspondence, financial documents. 50 million annually embezzled from PAC resources over 15 years. 750 million total. We have your records, your correspondence, your payment receipts. We have witness testimony from wolves you tried to silence. We have everything. Marcus lunges forward, but guards restrain him instantly. You can't prove. We already have. Sarah's voice cuts through the noise. She steps forward, and the authority in her tone surprises even her. 3 days ago, while I investigated the river, Damien's guards searched your quarters. They found ledgers detailing every embezzled transaction. Correspondence showing coordination between all 6 conspirators. Evidence of 27 witnesses you had disappeared or silenced. She pulls out a leather journal, Marcus's personal records seized from his quarters. You documented everything, Marcus. Every payment, every threat, every step of your plan, including the attempted murder in the arena. Marcus's face goes from rage to genuine fear. He'd kept those records as insurance, as proof of others' involvement if he needed to leverage them. He never imagined they'd be found and used against him. Additionally, Sarah continues, pulling out another document. I have a confession, recorded yesterday in his own words. She nods to guards at the rear entrance. They bring in a woman, slight dark-haired, visibly trembling. But her eyes, when they meet Sarah's, hold desperate hope. This is Lyra Ashwood, Sarah announces. My sister, hidden for 13 years by the conspirators, held as insurance against my parents' potential return. She knows everything, and she's willing to testify. The chamber goes utterly silent. Sarah approaches her sister, family she never knew existed, kept prisoner all this time. Lyra clutches a stack of documents against her chest, evidence she's accumulated over years of quiet observation and careful documentation. They thought I was broken, Lyra says, her voice soft but steady. Traumatized into compliance after watching our parents die. But I was just waiting for the right moment, for someone strong enough to stand against them. She looks at Sarah. For you. She hands over her documents, detailed accounts of every conspiracy meeting she witnessed, every overheard conversation, every crime committed in her presence. Years of evidence painstakingly recorded, kept hidden until needed. It's over, Damien says, his voice carrying finality. Guards arrest them all. What follows is chaos. Moira shrieks accusations of treason. Thorn tries to fight, but he's outnumbered 20-1. Aldrich attempts to bribe his way out. Ravenna maintains silent dignity, already calculating her next move. Corvus pleads medical necessity, claiming he was only following orders. And Marcus just smiles. That same cold, predatory smile. You think this ends anything, he says as guards clamp irons on his wrists. You think exposing us changes the fundamental truth. This pack needs strength, not compassion. Hierarchy, not equality. You'll fail, Sarah Ashwood. Maybe not today, maybe not next month. But eventually your weakness will destroy everything. No, Sarah says quietly. Your corruption nearly destroyed everything. We're just fixing what you broke. The guards drag them away, all 6 conspirators bound and contained, headed for the cells that Sarah occupied just 2 weeks ago. The irony isn't lost on anyone. When they're gone, the chamber remains in shocked silence. Then slowly PAC members begin to speak, not in chaos but in genuine discussion, processing what they've witnessed, adjusting to a reality where their trusted leaders were criminals, where their condemned prisoner was innocent, where everything they believed was a lie. Alpha Rowan approaches Sarah, extends his hand. If you rule Silvermoon with half the integrity you demonstrated this week, our treaty will hold for generations. They shake on it again, but this time the trust isn't fragile. It's real. The trial of courage is traditionally held 3 days after the trial of wisdom. Time for the PAC to process revelations, for tensions to settle, for the final test to be properly staged. But Sarah doesn't get 3 days. She gets 1. The PAC is fractured, Damien explains the morning after the conspiracy's exposure. They're in the war room, just the 2 of them, and Ragnar speaking privately before the council convenes. Half of them see you as a hero, a quarter see you as a usurper. The remaining quarter don't know what to believe anymore. He looks exhausted, the poison still in his system, despite Sarah's tonics, despite the conspirators' arrest. Healing takes time. We need to resolve the succession question now before uncertainty breeds violence. The trial of courage needs to happen today. What does it require? Sarah asks. She's exhausted too, running on determination and stubbornness more than actual strength. Her shoulder still aches. Her ribs protest every deep breath. But their right waiting only lets opposition organize. Traditionally, the trial tests whether you can face your greatest fear before the entire PAC, Damien says. For some, it's combat against overwhelming odds. For others, it's exposing vulnerability. For you, he pauses, considering, I think your greatest fear isn't physical danger. You've faced death multiple times already. Then what? Sarah asks, though she suspects she knows the answer. Rejection, Damien says gently. Being seen and still found unworthy, having visibility and losing it. After 10 years invisible, your greatest fear is that even when they can see you, they'll choose to look away. He's right, and they both know it. Sarah spent 10 years surviving on the streets, but those scars run deeper than physical damage. The fear of mattering and being dismissed anyway, that's the nightmare that's haunted her since her parents vanished. So what do I do, she asks. You face the PAC, Damien says. All 5,247 of them. You tell them your truth, who you are, what you've survived, what you want to build. No throne, no ceremony, just you standing before them asking them to choose you, knowing they might not. It's terrifying, more terrifying than the arena, than Marcus's fangs at her throat, than any physical trial could be. Because this test has no tricks, no strategy, no way to win through cleverness. Just brutal honesty and the hope that it's enough. When Sarah asks, noon, the same time as your first trial. Damien's amber eyes hold hers. Are you ready? No, Sarah admits, but I'll do it anyway. The arena at noon is even more packed than it was for the trial of strength. Every member of Silvermoon PAC has gathered, plus representatives from neighboring PACs, including Alpha Rowan, and a delegation from Eastern PAC. 7,000 wolves total, maybe more, all here to witness the final trial. Sarah stands in the center of the combat circle alone. No weapons, no guards, no Ragnar. He watches from the sidelines, trusting her to face this herself. Just Sarah Ashwood, 20 years old, wearing simple clothes instead of fighting leathers, facing a sea of faces that hold every possible expression. Hope, skepticism, hostility, curiosity, fear. Damien's voice carries across the arena. The trial of courage requires the claimant to face their greatest fear before the PAC. Sarah Ashwood has chosen to do this without shield or ceremony. She will speak her truth. The PAC will judge whether she possesses the courage to lead. He gestures to Sarah. The floor is yours. For a moment, Sarah can't speak. Her throat is tight, her hands trembling. 7,000 pairs of eyes on her. 7,000 wolves waiting to judge. This is everything she feared, being visible and still found wanting. But then she sees Kaelin in the crowd nodding encouragement. Sees Lyra, her sister, gripping her hands together in hope. Sees Damien's steady presence on the throne, believing in her, even when she barely believes in herself. And she remembers her father's words spoken so long ago. They're more feeling than memory. Knowledge is survival, little moon. No one can take what you carry in your mind. Sarah takes a breath and begins. My name is Sarah Ashwood. 20 years ago, I was born into the royal line. 7 years later, my family was slaughtered in the coup that brought the Blackstones to power. I survived because my parents sacrificed everything to hide me. They raised me as nobody, keeping me invisible and safe. Her voice grows stronger as she continues. 10 years ago, they were found and killed. I was 11 years old. I spent the next decade on the streets of this territory, homeless and forgotten. I learned to steal food. I learned which alleys stayed warmest in winter. I learned to predict weather and map territory and treat my own wounds because no one else would do it for me. She sees some pack members shifting uncomfortably. They'd walk past her in those alleys, stepped around her like she was trash. I was invisible, Sarah continues. Not because I chose it, but because that's what this pack made me. An orphan Omega with no name, no value, no place. I was useful when you needed someone to predict blizzards or find lost children in the woods, but I was invisible the moment the crisis passed. 2 weeks ago, Marcus Silverclaw framed me for theft, hoping I'd be executed before anyone discovered who I really was. I was sentenced to die in the pit. And I faced that death with dignity because it was the only thing you hadn't taken from me. But Ragnar saw me, not my bloodline, not my title, just me, a girl who understood what it meant to be alone, to be weaponized, to be needed but never valued. He saw me and he chose me. Not because I was powerful, but because I saw him too. Sarah's voice drops, becomes intimate despite the thousands listening. I don't want to rule because of my blood. I don't want authority through birthright or ancient claims. I want to lead because I understand what it's like to be forgotten. I want to build a pack where children don't freeze in alleys, where Omega wolves have value beyond their rank, where power serves justice instead of corruption. In 2 weeks, I've defeated 3 trained warriors, solved a territorial crisis through cooperation instead of conquest, and exposed a conspiracy that's been stealing from you for 15 years. I've done this not through superior strength or magical gifts, but through seeing patterns, through valuing people, through refusing to accept that violence is the only answer. She looks around the arena, meeting as many eyes as she can. I'm asking you to choose me, not because you have to, not because ancient law demands it, but because you believe in the kind of pack I want to build, a pack where everyone matters, where wisdom guides strength, where we lead through connection instead of fear. But I'm also telling you the truth. If you don't choose me, I'll accept that choice. I won't fight for a throne I have to take by force, because that would make me no different than the wolves who murdered my family. The arena is utterly silent, 7,000 wolves holding their breath. So that's my truth, Sarah finishes. I'm Sarah Ashwood. I'm a survivor, a cartographer, someone who spent 10 years invisible and finally learned to be seen. I'm asking for your trust, knowing I might not receive it. That's courage. And that's all I have to offer. She stands there vulnerable and exposed, waiting for judgment. For a long moment, nothing happens. The silence stretches, becomes unbearable. Sarah's heart hammers. This is it, the moment of rejection she's always feared. They've seen her, heard her truth, and they're going to look away. Then Kaylin stands, visible in the crowd, her warrior's stance, proud and strong. She places her fist over her heart in the ancient gesture of loyalty. I choose Sarah Ashwood, she says clearly. I choose the Ashwood line. I choose the queen who sees us. Beside her, another wolf stands, then another, then 10, then 50. Then entire sections of the crowd rising to their feet, fists over hearts, voices joining in a chorus that shakes the foundations of the stronghold. Sarah Ashwood, Sarah Ashwood, Sarah Ashwood. Not everyone. Sarah sees wolves who remain seated, who turn away, who refuse to acknowledge her claim. But they're the minority. 3/4 of the pack is standing, choosing her, seeing her. Alpha Rowan stands as well, and his entire delegation follows. Eastern Pack recognizes Sarah Ashwood, he calls out. We stand with the Ashwood line. Tears stream down Sarah's face. She can't help it. After 10 years invisible, after a lifetime of being overlooked, thousands of wolves are choosing her, seeing her, believing in her. Damien rises from his throne, descends the steps to the arena floor, approaches Sarah directly, and the crowd quiets to hear what he'll say. Sarah Ashwood has passed all 3 trials, he announces. She has demonstrated strength, wisdom, and courage beyond what any of us anticipated. By ancient law, by pack tradition, by the bond of Ragnar himself, she is the rightful heir to the Silver Moon Pack. He takes her hand, raises it high. But she is also correct that forcing leadership through birthright alone creates resentment. So I propose something different, something unprecedented. Damien looks at Sarah, and in his eyes, she sees not just respect, but something deeper. Something that's been growing between them for 2 weeks of late-night strategy sessions and vulnerable moments in shared purpose. I propose dual leadership, he says. Sarah Ashwood as Alpha Queen, representing the wisdom and compassion of the old bloodline. Myself as Alpha King, representing the strength and stability of 20 years rule. We lead together as equals, combining the best of both lines to serve this pack. The arena erupts in discussion. It's unprecedented, radical. Two alphas sharing power equally, it's never been done. The pack will vote, Damien continues. Those who support dual leadership stand and be counted. There's no hesitation this time. The entire pack, even most who'd remain seated during Sarah's speech, rises to its feet. Because this isn't about choosing sides. It's about choosing the future. Dual leadership is ratified, Damien announces. Sarah Ashwood and I will rule together as equals until death or abdication. He turns to Sarah, still holding her hand, and speaks quietly enough that only she can hear. Is this acceptable to you, airing power, sharing the burden? It's perfect, Sarah whispers back. I never wanted to rule alone anyway. The coronation happens 3 days later, giving time for preparations and for the pack to adjust to the revelations of the past 2 weeks. The ceremony is held not in the arena, but in the Great Hall decorated with mountain laurel and columbine, with tapestries depicting both Ashwood and Blackstone history hanging side by side. Sarah wears a dress for the first time in 10 years, deep blue like twilight, simple but elegant with silver threading that catches the light. Her sister Lyra helped her prepare, braiding her auburn hair with small flowers, treating her with the careful affection of someone relearning how to have family. You look like Mother, Lyra says, softly adjusting Sarah's collar. She would be so proud of you. I wish I remembered her better, Sarah admits. I was so young when they fled. Most of what I have are fragments. I'll help you remember, Lyra promises. I'm not going anywhere. We have time now. The ceremony itself is both traditional and revolutionary. Elder Moira should be conducting it, but she's in the cells awaiting trial. So Damien's most trusted advisor, a wolf named Helena who served under Sarah's grandfather, officiates instead. 2 crowns are presented, not elaborate golden affairs dripping with jewels, but simple silver circlets, one with the Ashwood crescent moon, one with the Blackstone wolf. Sarah's sits lighter on her head than she expected, but the weight of what it represents is heavier than any metal. The coronation vows are traditional, promises to protect the pack, to serve justice, to lead with wisdom and strength. But Damien adds something new, a vow of partnership, of equal authority, of decisions made together rather than alone. When Ragnar steps forward to acknowledge both of them, pressing his massive head first against Sarah's hand, then against Damien's, the pack erupts in howls of approval. The Warwolf has accepted dual leadership. The bond is official. The celebration afterward is the first time Sarah's truly experienced pack community. Food and music and dancing wolves in both human and beast form, mingling together, the social barriers that separated ranks temporarily relaxed in honor of the occasion. She dances with Kaelin, with Lyra, with Alpha Rowan, who stayed for the coronation. She accepts congratulations from wolves who wouldn't have looked at her 2 weeks ago, processes the surreal reality of mattering to people who used to step around her in alleys. But the moment she's been both anticipating and dreading comes when Damien requests a private audience. They slip away from the celebration, climb stairs to a balcony overlooking the stronghold and the forest beyond. The moon is full tonight, not blood red this time, just silver and serene, painting everything in shades of pearl and shadow. We did it, Damien says, leaning against the railing. Against all odds, against every expectation, we actually did it. You sound surprised, Sarah teases gently. I am. I've spent 20 years ruling through force and law and careful political maneuvering. You spent 2 weeks ruling through compassion and creativity and sheer stubborn survival instinct. He turns to face her fully. You showed me that there's another way, a better way. He reaches out, gently tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture is intimate, tender, everything the Alpha King usually isn't. I need to tell you something. Before this goes any further, before we're bound by more than crowns and politics. Sarah's breath catches. What? I'm falling in love with you. The words are simple, honest, vulnerable. Not because you're the heir, not because of political necessity, but because you see me, the real me beneath the titles and the authority. You see me the way you see everyone, as a person, not a position. He cups her face in his hands, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. I know my father killed your grandfather, and that should make this impossible. But I can't. I don't want to rule beside you as just a partner. I want more, if you'll have me. Sarah's heart hammers so hard she thinks it might crack her ribs. 2 weeks ago, she was sleeping in an alley, certain she'd die alone and forgotten. Now the Alpha King is confessing love on a moonlit balcony. Yes, she whispers. I want more too. I've wanted more since you first looked at me like I mattered, like I was worth believing in. When Damien kisses her, it's gentle at first, tentative, asking permission even after she's given it. But Sarah leans into him, wraps her arms around his neck, and the kiss deepens into something fierce and hungry and absolutely right. They pull apart eventually, both breathless foreheads pressed together. This complicates things, Damien murmurs against her lips. Everything about the past 2 weeks has been complicated, Sarah points out. What's one more impossible thing? He laughs. That surprised, genuine sound she's learned means he's truly happy. You have a point. They return to the celebration hand in hand, and the pack notices immediately. Notices and approves, judging by the knowing smiles and raised glasses. Because this isn't just political alliance anymore. It's genuine partnership. It's proof that the old wounds can heal, that Ashwood and Blackstone can build something new together. The conspirators' trial happens a week later, open and public with evidence presented for all to see. The financial records, the correspondence, Lyra's testimony, Marcus's own journal documenting his crimes, it's overwhelming and irrefutable. The pack votes on sentencing. Sarah advocates for exile rather than execution, mercy over vengeance, even for those who tried to murder her. If we kill them, we continue the cycle of violence, she argues. If we exile them, we demonstrate that justice can exist without bloodshed. The pack agrees. All 6 conspirators are stripped of rank and property, their embezzled funds seized and redistributed to pack infrastructure. They're banished to the Alaska Territories, forbidden from ever returning on pain of death. Marcus goes silently, but his ice-blue eyes promise this isn't over, that he'll return someday, somehow. Sarah meets his gaze, evenly unafraid. She survived worse than his threats. She'll survive whatever comes next. Early August brings warmth to the Rocky Mountains, melting the last of the high-elevation snow, filling the streams with cold, clear water. The Clearwater River runs strong again, the dam repair completed ahead of schedule through Silver Moon and Eastern Pack cooperation. Sarah stands in the war room, no longer a stranger in borrowed quarters, but an alpha queen who knows every corner of the stronghold. Her shoulder has healed, leaving only a thin scar where Marcus's fangs tore through muscle. Her ribs no longer ache when she breathes deeply. Her body has recovered from the trials. But it's the other changes that matter more. Through the window, she can see the new construction, 47 units of housing, specifically designed for Omega Wolves with communal kitchens and childcare facilities. No more children freezing in alleys. No more families pushed to the margins. The free medical clinic opened last month, staffed by healers who serve everyone regardless of rank. The wilderness medicine Sarah learned on the streets is being documented and taught, her survival knowledge transformed into formal curriculum. And the cartography school, her personal project, accepts its first students next week, teaching young wolves to map territory, to read land, to value knowledge as deeply as physical strength. Damien enters the war room, 2 cups of tea in hand. He's fully recovered from the poison color returned to his face, strength restored to his body. He moves with the same controlled power he always has, but there's warmth in his expression now. That wasn't there 6 months ago. Rowan sent word, he says, settling beside her at the map table. The first joint harvest is projected to exceed expectations. Cooperation is profitable, apparently. Imagine that, Sarah says dryly. They share a smile, the comfortable intimacy of 2 people who've learned each other's rhythms. Their partnership has been everything Sarah hoped and nothing she expected. They divide responsibilities based on strength. Damien handles military matters and international relations. Sarah focuses on domestic policy and social programs. But they consult on everything, making no major decisions alone. And at night, when the work is done and the stronghold quiets, they retreat to quarters they now share. The relationship no one expected, but everyone has come to accept. Because it works. Because they're stronger together than apart. There's something I need to tell you, Sarah says, setting down her teacup. Her hand drifts unconsciously to her stomach, to the small life growing there that only the healers know about yet. Damien notices immediately, he always does. His amber eyes widen, dropping to her hand, then back to her face. Sarah, I'm pregnant, she confirms. 3 months along. The healers confirmed it yesterday. For a moment, Damien just stares. Then he's pulling her into his arms, holding her tight enough to be uncomfortable. But she doesn't complain because she can feel his joy, his wonder, his absolute certainty that this is right. A child, he breathes against her hair, an Ashwood Blackstone heir, the living symbol of what we've built together. Are you happy? Sarah asks, even though she can feel his answer in every line of his body. Happy doesn't begin to cover it. Damien pulls back just enough to kiss her, tender and fierce and full of promise. 6 months ago, you were sleeping in an alley. Now you're an alpha queen carrying the next generation. If that's not proof of your strength, I don't know what is. They announce it that evening at the pack gathering. The response is overwhelming celebration from most cautious approval from the rest. Because this child represents the future. The blending of old and new bloodlines. The proof that the pack has truly moved forward. Lara cries happy tears, already planning to be the world's best aunt. Kaelin immediately volunteers for additional security detail. Ragnar settles at Sarah's feet with protective possessiveness, the ancient werewolf already devoted to the life growing within his chosen queen. And as the celebration continues, as the pack howls approval to the August moon, Sarah allows herself a moment of quiet reflection. 6 months ago, she was invisible, forgotten, certain she'd die alone and unmourned in the city where she'd survived for a decade. Now she's an alpha queen, a wife, a soon-to-be mother, the architect of social programs that are transforming how the pack treats its most vulnerable members, the symbol of cooperation and wisdom, and the revolutionary idea that compassion can be as powerful as force. She's visible, she's valued, she matters, and perhaps most miraculously, she's no longer alone. Damien's hand finds hers under the table, fingers intertwining. No words needed, just the quiet certainty that whatever comes next, they'll face it together. The werewolf's chosen queen has claimed her throne not through violence, but through vision. And the pack she's building, cooperative, compassionate, strong, will endure for generations. Because Sarah Ashwood learned something in those 10 years on the streets. Something more powerful than any combat technique or political strategy. Survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about refusing to let circumstances steal your humanity. It's about seeing others even when you're invisible yourself. It's about building something better from the ashes of what was destroyed. And that lesson passed from mother to daughter, from grandmother to granddaughter, will echo through the Ashwood line for centuries to come. The moon rises full and silver over the Rocky Mountains. The Clearwater River runs strong. Both packs thrive in newfound cooperation. And in the stronghold, an invisible girl who became a visible queen rests her hand on her growing belly and dreams of the future she's creating. One where no child goes unseen, where wisdom guides strength, where the werewolf's loyalty is rewarded with leaders worth serving, one where compassion at last wears the crown.